Good afternoon. My name is Maria Nestopoulou. I'm the festival director. I would like to welcome you to the open activities of Animasyros 2021 Agora. This is the 7th year of Animasyros Agora, and I'm very proud because the Agora team has put together a very interesting schedule and program covering all aspects of the animation industry. I don't want to take up your time. I would like to give the floor to Marinetta Kriticou, the Agora coordinator, who with Yanni Lollis and her team put together all this wonderful program that you're going to see the next days. Marinetta.
Good afternoon. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us today. I'm very pleased to welcome those who have supported for years now and those who are new to Animasyros and Agora. So we have a special program this year. We tried to put different sections, different kind of subjects like music, like production companies and platforms, production companies and content, animated documentary. Anyway, you have the schedule. Please consult the schedule day by day and stay with us. So this year, last year we had a partnership with Animation du Monde, and we succeeded through our collaboration, which was a pitch coaching workshop for 4 days to have 2 of our projects to pitch in Annecy last June. This year we continue this partnership with France, and we are very proud because we succeeded a strategic partnership with Folimage Studio. And we are glad because this year pitch coaching workshop is run by Catherine Blanc-Maurizi and Hélène Frieren. We have 5 interesting projects coming from Lebanon, coming from Greece and France, and they will prepare their presentation during this workshop, and they will present their work in development on Saturday afternoon, and you are welcome to join us. So let's start with our first section, which is, hold on, I have to read, just a moment, give me, okay. So our first section, no, today we have roundtables. We have 3 roundtables. Our first roundtable is animated film production during COVID in Greece, and we have 3 case studies, 3 winners of the special program for the support for the cinema community by the Greek Film Center and the Ministry of Culture. So in a few minutes, we'll be back with you. Okay, here we are again, back on stage. We welcome Daphne Xurafi. Hello, Daphne. Effie Papa. Hello, Effie. Haralabos Margaritis and Maria Sabatakaki. I said three, but I mean 3 projects, 4 people, okay? So before we start the discussion about this experience, I would like each one of you to present in one line the project you are working on. So let's start from Daphne.
Hi everyone. My name is Daphne. I'm an illustrator, animator, and my film is about a girl working in a big city from home, which as her anxiety goes up, her house starts behaving in strange and unusual ways, and she has to fight an invisible enemy. So, yeah.
Okay, let's see a few shots from your work in progress. Yes, there is no sound here.
Yeah, it's just a tiny teaser.
Okay. So next to Daphne is Effie Papa.
Hi, I'm an animation director. So our film is a short satire film. It's a short comedy, stop motion, about our hectic, fast rhythms that we have in modern day. And we have 3 different characters that they don't have time to do very simple things. And yeah, that's it.
In between.
In between, it's called.
Let's see a trailer. Amazing. And next to Effie is Haralabos and Maria. They work together and they will present their finished film, actually, that we'll have the opportunity to watch it the night of the opening ceremony, during the opening ceremony.
Hello, I'm Haralabos. I am the director of Hellenic Places Hermopolis. It's a 17-minute long animated documentary that tells the history of Hermopolis.
And Maria, who is an historian.
Yes, I'm the only one who's not a director here. So yes, I'm a historian. I was his consultant. The film is about the history of Hermopolis, the capital of Syros. That's it. I believe that it's not actually history. It's a short historical narrative, concentrating and focusing on significant historical moments in the past of Hermopolis.
Fantastic. We will watch a trailer, and don't miss the screening, because it's your only opportunity to learn everything about Syros.
Αιγαίο πέλαγος. Ερμούπολη. Η πρωτεύουσα της Σύρου. Κέντρο του νησιωτικού συμπλέγματος των Κυκλάδων. Στην ιστορία της απαντώνται όλες οι ζυμώσεις που διαμόρφωσαν το σύγχρονο ελληνισμό.
you. So let's go on with this discussion about this specific condition. Let's say you got a fund from the Ministry of Culture, and this fund had specific terms in budget and time. So I would start from Daphne. Just tell us a few things how it was to work under this condition.
So there was a very specific deadline and a very specific budget, and we are extremely grateful to the Greek Film Center.
You can tell us how much was the budget and how long you were...
The deadline was, in the beginning, 6 months, right? And the budget was different for every film. I was about around 17,000 given on 2 doses. So the weirdest thing about this was that you have to be very specific about what the project was going to be, who you were going to hire, to make sure that the production was going to be right on time. And there was COVID also, and there were collaborators that could not come to Greece. There was this whole mess. But I think the time, on average, we always need more time, and we always need more budget in animation. That's a fact. But I think it turned out fine in the end. So.
Did these terms influence the content of your job?
In my case, they greatly did, because there were major changes in the film because of the time and the problems we had with the budget. Some decisions were made about the style and the characters, and the theme stays the same, but there were definitely changes because of that.
I see. And actually, were you working on other projects simultaneously, or you were devoted on this?
Like both.
Oh.
So I mostly work in advertising as a freelancer, but I have kind of semi-permanent contracts with some companies. So I had a lot of work that I had to fulfill all the time. And it was really hard because I felt this tremendous guilt every time I took time off the film. Because time is the most important thing you have in animation. The more time you have, the better stuff you can create. So, but I had to survive as well. In Greece, in this country with the toughest lockdown, in Europe, with this whole thing happening. And I'm grateful that at least in our department and in animation, it was fine in COVID in terms of work. And we didn't have to struggle as much as other people in other kinds of jobs.
What is the duration of your movie? How long it's the duration?
It's 7 to 8 minutes long so far. So it's
far.
still being edited. So.
And when do you think it's gonna be over?
It's soon. It's being edited right now. So I finished the animation, and we're about to do sound and music, and it's gonna be done in about 3 to 4 weeks.
So next year here, of course, the festival.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Effie, what about you? Tell us your experience.
So it was definitely challenging, a lot. One good thing that I feel that it helped me quite a lot is that work in advertising. So the pace has to be like really, really fast anyway. And this is pretty much how we approached this project as well with my production company, who's Marni Films. We sat down and we had a very, very specific schedule and time frame for everything. And because in stop motion there are many people involved, there was no space to, fall out of this program. So, if we said that the shooting has to be 5 weeks, it has to be 5 weeks with certain days. So if one shot doesn't turn up really nice, well, we're going to have to live with it. And that was part of the compromise that I also had to do as a director, that we had sometimes to just do our best, and if it doesn't work out best, because not everything does, I had to be like, okay, we have to live with it, it's fine. So yeah, overall, it was a great experience, and yeah, had a great team all along, and as Daphne said, the budget that we had was different. Mine was 20K. Well, the real budget of the film was 5 times more, to be honest. And that's because we had many physical expenses like space and lights and cameras and things that actually cost, as well as people's time. But yeah, we did it with a lot of favors and people really believing in it. So I'm really grateful as well. for everyone's involvement. Yeah.
And how many people you worked on this project? How many, the team?
So during the production, during the shooting, it was five of us, sometimes six of us, and that was the absolute minimum number of people needed. That it was, the absolute minimum. And then more and more people are getting involved, during the editing, and then the sound and music, and so on and so on. Yeah.
The best and the worst moments of this experience?
I think the best moments, well, actually, gonna start with the worst. I think the worst was that at the beginning it was perfect because it was a massive creative outlet for everyone. But then on the second lockdown, that it was pretty much the last weeks of our shoot, more projects starting hitting us like a massive wave. So we had to manage so many different things, and at the same time, we had the space and we were shooting, so everything had to happen at the same time. So that was difficult. Like I was heart beating from anxiety, but it's all good in the end. And the good thing, I think, that it's that I really like that because we were so deprived from social interaction. The studio became our little nest for being with each other and communicating creatively. So we started really bonding with each other, and that was great. It was the only people that we were seeing for 3 months, so it was nice. Yeah.
Good. So let's go on with Haralabos and Maria. Your experience.
Yeah, so when you do animation, there's
Είναι ανοιχτό,
yeah.
Okay.
When you do animation, there's two things you will never have enough of, and that's budget and time. You can always use more, and it will never be enough. So I always go by Herzog's advice: you do the doable. So the first thing I had to decide was whether there's going to be a big team for the animation, and whether the style will be in a specific way or in another way. So from the beginning, I knew that the budget wouldn't be enough to employ someone to assist in the animation, so I prefer to allocate that budget for a good sound design and for a proper voiceover, because sound is often neglected.
So you were doing production as well.
I did
this is production job.
The sound,
I think producer's job.
No, Maria did the production part. I just dealt with the musician and the sound designer. But the production, the actual filming of the shooting of the film, I did it by myself. And I adjusted the aesthetics of the film accordingly so that it would be doable in the time given for the completion of the film.
What was the budget for your?
The budget was 18,000 euros.
18?
Yes.
And how long is the movie?
The movie is 17 minutes
17.
and 25 seconds. Every second counts.
It's not short. It's 17 minutes for an anima.
Yeah, so...
The 1700, I mean, it's like miracle. I believe that foreign animators here would be amazed by this, no?
Yeah.
We are doing miracles in Greece.
It's doable. It's doable.
It's doable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, but yeah, I don't know the result.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So yeah, the main issue, as Maria will also confirm, was the lack of access to archives. And there was an excessive research to be done to be historically accurate to the images that will be used as references for the film. And I didn't have access, and I didn't have time or the ability to travel and go to archives and or meet with Maria in person so that she could show me and verify everything for the film. So that had to be done very quickly, and that's where Maria comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a difficult part because historians, we need evidences, we need proofs, and we need tools. And these tools are the archives and the libraries. Everything was closed, but okay, we worked the project in advance somehow, before
getting the fund.
no, before starting. So we worked last summer, and by last summer I mean summer 2020. it was a small period that the archives and the libraries were open during a summer. So we've managed to collect the material we needed in order to support the film. And that helped us a lot because one of the things I have to say is that he really wanted to be accurate, and that was, it was a relief to me.
Of course, as an historian.
Yes.
I see. Okay. What would you suggest if there is another fund coming from the Ministry of Culture or from Greek Film Center? What would be your suggestions for something, for a next program?
I think time, definitely. I think either budget or time, because if both are tight, then there has to be like a huge compromise from the artist in order to, manage to survive financially. So either one or the other has to, somehow be more flexible. That would be my only thing. But like overall, I think it was such a great thing to do, and keep us so nicely occupied, and in the end, produce such a nice film. So.
Actually, have you shot any making of during the? You have?
Sort of.
Sort of. What about you, Daphne? If you have shot any making of the film?
I took a photo of me really tired on the desk because the whole film is on the computer. So I thought about it, but then I realized I've shot some videos, some time-lapse videos of me creating the backgrounds and animating, but it's always kind of messy because you go back and forth to different scenes. So there has to be a final cut of all this with the picture of me sleeping on the desk. So
yeah, you are a case, really. No, because I was just thinking that it would be helpful to show how an animation is done in Greece in these terms, and it would be helpful to show to the institutions, sure, because maybe they are not aware of. Exactly. Okay, so if you have any questions, please go ahead, and I don't know if we have, yeah.
Any questions? Anyone? No?
Yeah, Effie, you talked a bit about bonding with the team. Were there specific things that you deliberately did to make it a good working atmosphere?
Hi, Dinda. I don't think I had to do plenty of stuff other than I think the fact that we had one goal and because we didn't had much stimuli or things going on around us, so there wasn't something that we were missing out, and we had only this thing to focus, and everyone really loved it, to be part of it. So I didn't have much to do, just existing, I guess, and just sharing our feelings every day. So I think that helped us really bond.
I have a question. The projects you pitched for the program, were these projects that you were already working on, or did you work on them for the program itself?
It started as a script, but it became a whole movie after I got the funding. It started developing at this moment, so there was nothing before. There was just this image of a house filled with water. I always had this vivid image in my head, so I thought I'm going to turn this into a script. And
yeah. I had many random ideas when the lockdown came, but I had no idea what to do with them. So actually this, funding scheme was an amazing opportunity to start writing a script. And my film was very because it's about, time stopping and how that's feeling being expressed and how it was life before and now. So it really gave me the opportunity to actually work on something. So yeah, but there was nothing before. It was script written for that.
And in case, it was a project by Animasyros Festival, which existed actually well before COVID as an idea. The project was already advanced when I got into the team. Actually, the script and the storyboard were already created before I entered the project. They called me to direct the film, and this is an occasion to publicly thank the great team of Animasyros, because they brought me in a project that was theirs. They had an image of what they wanted the film to be like, but once I got into the project, they completely left me free to do my own thing. So yeah, the film already existed and was already in the process of being made before the program was announced. And when the program was announced, we thought it would be a good idea to present it in order to get the funding to actually do it. And also, they will confirm this. This is supposed to be the first episode of a series of films dedicated to cities of Greece, to Hellenic places.
Great. Any questions? Anyone? Daphne, what stage are you in the project? We saw some scenes that look amazing, actually, but where are you at now?
I'm editing right now, and we're about to do sound and music. I made a decision early on to do everything by myself, which was probably not a very good idea. So that's why I haven't mentioned any team or anything. Yeah, so it's being edited.
It's a one-woman show.
Yeah.
What is the obligation towards? Are you supposed to deliver these to the Greek Film Center? Who is what is the end? Like, what's considered to be a done thing? Are you giving it to the Ministry of Culture? Like, I don't know if
it's never done.
Yeah, I just don't know what the obligation is of the contract with the program. Do you guys do you have an idea? No.
So there was a specific deadline.
Yeah.
We got an extension
Yeah.
because of COVID. There
Right.
was this whole surreal mess, and right now we're going to give the movies into a hard drive.
Okay.
And
Okay. Got it.
Actually, it's a DCP package that needs to be delivered along with subtitles and the whole.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Fantastic. You're ready to go to festivals, Effie, with yours?
Right now, I'm not ready because we have scenes, but you know, I mean, we're working on the edit right now.
Okay. Perfect.
So yeah, we're gonna submit to as many film festivals as we can, obviously, and we're looking forward to share the film. But yeah, not yet. It's too early.
Do you guys know other people that are part of the 25 projects? Have you? Do you know anything about the other projects that were part of this group? You have other friends or animators that have worked on them?
I do know two girls, but I can't remember the name of the film, and I'm very ashamed right now.
No.
But we were in constant communication because of COVID, and everybody was running wild, and they had a lot of scenes. And I've seen a little bit of their work, and it's amazing, and I can't wait to see the rest. But we came in contact, most of us, at some point, to congratulate each other and to decide on the extension, because we asked for more time. So eventually we got to know each other more a little bit.
That's great. Well, Hellas Film representative is going to be here on Saturday, and I think one of the questions is what are they planning to do with this group of films in terms of marketing them and supporting them around. So hopefully there'll be some answers then. Anybody have any questions?
To Daphne, was it your choice to work alone in your film? Was it because of COVID or budget restrictions, or is it because you're too protective of your style approach and you don't want anybody to mess
Definitely not the last, but it derived from that. So what happened was, this is my first ever film. I'm inexperienced, and COVID had just hit. So I thought, I have no idea what I wanted to look like. I have this image in my head, and I wanted to create a movie out of it. So I found there was no time or budget to employ somebody and annoy them and bother them with endless indecisive ideas on what I wanted to be. So I started on my own, but I actually got a little bit of help with the animation, my collaborator Stefanos Pletsis, and I co-wrote the script with my friend Thanos Kiratzis. But I ended up drawing the backgrounds, directing, animating, editing, and I don't know if it's a very good idea at this point because it's kind of impossible to juggle equally on all these roles and be fair to the backgrounds and be fair to the animation because it can't all be perfect at some point and you can't be good at all of it. So it was a choice. It happened. I did get some help at the end and I'm very grateful for that. And right now I'm going to get some help with the sound and the music. And I feel very relieved about this.
I think George is looking for supporters of his own work style here. But thank you so much. Marinetta?
Πάω στην κανονική τώρα. Θα πάω εκεί που πρέπει. Okay, a big applause. Thank you so much. It was fantastic. We are looking forward to watch your movies. And
Thank you for
next
having
year
us.
for you and tomorrow for you, actually. Okay, we'll make a few minutes break and we go on with our next section, which is co-production challenges, and we have awarded animators from Turkey, Lebanon, and Syria. Please stay with us.
Welcome to the second roundtable of the first day of Animasyros 2021 Agora. My name is Yanni Lolis, and I work in putting the program together alongside Marinetta. The second roundtable has to do with international co-productions, challenges and opportunities. The name of it is really speaking to animation filmmakers that have gone through the process of pulling funds together and completing a film using producers maybe not from their own country, going across border or getting themselves across borders. So we'll have an opportunity to speak with them. We have with us, right next to me, Jalal Magut. He's from Syria, but has been living in Berlin in Germany for the last 9 years. His first film, Suleyma, in 2015, I believe, won praise and won distinction around a lot of film festivals. He has a current film that has been doing really well in festivals across Europe. It's called Have a Nice Dog, and it's actually screening in Animasyros in the student competition section. You can watch it on Friday, but you can also watch it on animasyros.gr on our online screenings this year. I'll ask Jalal to just share a few words about this last film of his.
Yes, Have a Nice Dog is my last film. It's a psychodrama about a man who lives in Damascus and becomes lost in his fantasies of fleeing from his city and his inner dialogue with his dog. And the film is based actually on my personal experience in Damascus. It's not my personal story, but it's the surreal situation that I experienced in Damascus during the first 2 years of the war. I've been there until 2013, and the life situation there was shaped by a very absurd contrast between the normal daily life inside the city and the ongoing conflicts in the outskirts. So that was, during the day you can do everything inside the city, anything belongs to the daily life. You go to work, you go shopping, you meet friends and so on. And all the time you can hear the shelling sounds from the outskirts, and you can see sometimes the military jets that were bombing there. But people pretended to have a kind of normality in this situation, and the question for me was always if this normality, if this pretended normality actually normal is. At the same time, the inspiration also came from a real dog who is still living with my parents now in Damascus. He is now around 9 years, and I noticed by the dog, his name is Barut. Barut means gunpowder. I noticed a very strange psycho situation sometimes. He's always afraid, he always runs away, sometimes without a reason. So I always thought that people pretend to, or people tend to suppress their feelings, but for an animal it's not possible. So he was for me like the real exaggerated display of the real feelings that people had at that time.
Thank you. Please watch this film, it's wonderful. Alongside Jalal is another filmmaker, Nicolas Fatou. He comes to us from Lebanon. We are screening in Animasyros this year his first film from 2018, How My Grandmother Became a Chair. Another great film. It's also showing in the Med Anima section on Friday, but it's also available online on our digital screenings. Nicolas is a painter, a sculptor, a journal visual artist, and an animation filmmaker. You've had your second project won an award at Beirut Animated and went to Animation du Monde, right? And you recently told me you're getting into performance art too, which is incredible, with How My Grandmother Became a Chair as an inspiration for that work. Would you tell us a few words about this film? Thank you.
So this film, How My Grandmother Became a Chair, is inspired by the story of my family. And the idea of it came 1 week after my grandmother's funeral. I remember that my family wanted to put her house for rent, and they all came back after a while to collect some of her stuff. And on that day I couldn't go there because I was still heartbroken. But on that same day, Grandma's housekeeper, who lived with her for a year, yet she was never considered as part of her family, moved to my house, and she brought with her nothing except for my grandmother's wooden chair. And I remember when she posed that chair in the middle of my living room, the more I looked at it, the more I stopped seeing it as a piece of furniture, but instead I saw my grandmother. And that's how the idea of the film was born. And it shows how, by getting older, my grandmother was getting weaker, and she was getting more stiff and more wooden, and losing her senses. And little by little, she transformed into her wooden chair where she was sitting all the time. And it's not only about my grandmother's transformation, but also two other transformations are happening in the film. The one of the thorny housekeeping beast that was scary in the beginning, that transformed into a normal and beautiful human being. And the one of 6 innocent children transforming into greedy roosters. And through that film, I'm asking the question of what is a real family, and I would like to show that sometimes a family is not defined by blood connections, but it is more a matter of kindness and love. And through that film, I'm showing that even if she is not part of her family, the housekeeper showed that she is more worthy of being part of my grandmother's family than the rest of her kids. So that's the idea of the film.
Thank you. The roundtable was supposed to be complete by the presence of Imge and Sine Ozbige, Turkish filmmakers living in Belgium. They weren't able to join us, but they have sent some video for us to watch. I don't know if you're aware of their work. They work separately, but they've also collaborated in a lot of films. I think this is the 3rd film that they're collaborating on. They have worked on their first film, Camouflage, and their second one, #21XOXO. They're working on a new film right now called The Curator. But we're screening right now in Animasyros their film Mosaic. We're gonna play a little video where they're talking a little bit about the film, and we'll go from there.
Imge and Sine, the directors of Mosaic.
I think it is very important that we talk a little bit about how animation actually brings to reality, and why surrealism is so important in our work.
Surrealism is certainly a very dominant point of interest. It is not only exciting to be able to mirror how the creative mind can work through surrealism, but it also opens up the possibilities in going into the subconscious mind, and therefore enabling the approach to reach the audience's psychology, actually.
And this leads to the shaping of an illusion of movement, life, meaning, whatever you want to call it.
Mosaic is a very special movie to us because of the important message that it wants to tell. It's a movie about multiculturality, focusing on the people of the Middle East.
The Middle East is unfortunately mostly on the news due to conflicts and wars, but amongst these sad facts, it has also a very rich culture. We tell the story of 3 characters coming from different backgrounds, representing a metaphor for a cultural mosaic.
We worked on creating original animation characters that play with the cultural motifs without falling into Orientalist stereotypes. Most importantly, we want to tell the story of people and not the story of the war.
We deliberately chose to use surreal images when depicting the war scenes because we wanted to underline the surreality of it and how hard it is for us to grasp the reality of war. We were very much inspired by Hieronymus Bosch's artworks, and we have aimed to create a Middle Eastern Boschesque world for the surreal parts of the film.
Yes. We really hope that you will enjoy watching the journey of our three characters in Mosaic.
You know, when we put this roundtable together, as you see from the title of it, it had to do mostly from the fact that three seemingly independent, not seemingly, truly independent filmmakers were able to find funding and really teach us some lessons about, you know, how to pull money together to make your work. And that is what the conversation is still going to be about. It's just funny that when we saw the selections, this could have been a discussion totally on content and content alone, and it would have been an incredible discussion with all four of you here. But that's maybe a different roundtable for a different time on your next films. Imge was kind enough to go through the questions that we shared with you guys before, and she sent us a little video. She's kind of talking about the questions that she's answering them, so I think you get a good idea of what the questions were about. So we'll listen to her, give us her point of view. Her sister was unavailable. She was on a shooting location in Austria, and then we'll continue our conversation here.
Hi, I'm Imge Özbilge, the director of Mosaic, which I have co-directed together with my sister Sina Özbilge. And unfortunately, we couldn't make it physically to the festival, so I will be answering some questions via the video. And thanks a lot for screening Mosaic, which is a very sensitive movie, and we are very happy that there was a place to discuss these important matters also that Mosaic is addressing. So the first question is what the opportunities are for animation production in Turkey. I have to say, sadly, it is pretty difficult in the field of animation in Turkey, even though that there is a very good department at Anadolu University in Eskişehir, where you can study animation. Once you graduate, the options are very limited and more driven into the commercial industry. But there are the governmental film funds that support films, but most of the time animation projects also have to compete with live action, which does make it more difficult to actually get funding, especially also because animation needs a much bigger budget than live action. So what is mostly done in Turkey is either look for private funding or mainly co-production from other countries. And when it comes to Mosaic, we, Sina and I, both live in Belgium, where you have a very established funding system for animation specifically. So we were very fortunate to have the support of the Flemish Film Funds in Belgium to fund Mosaic. The second question is the difficulties of co-production, specifically for our film. For Mosaic, we didn't had co-production abroad, but we had a co-producer in Wallonia. So in Belgium, you have two separate fundings, the French-speaking part and the Flemish-speaking part of the country. Need Production was a co-producer of Mosaic, which of course enabled us the possibility to work with a broader team in post-production, specifically sound design, which was very, very important for this film, so we are very happy that we had this opportunity. Of course, the more parties are involved in the production process, the more different opinions get involved, schedules get involved, so certain difficulties also come with it. But in our case, we were very happy that we did have a co-producer. The third question is, how did we select our producer when we worked on Mosaic? We were very lucky with Mosaic, to be honest. A previous film that I had directed, Camouflage, was selected for the Cannes Film Festival in 2017. So actually, different producers approached us when we were ready to pitch Mosaic, and we could actually choose out of different options when we selected our producer. And the question also continues if we had any, if we did have to make any adjustments because of the involvement of our producer. Also here we were very lucky because Lunanim is an art house, production house, which leaves the creative decisions on the directors, which is not always the case. So I would say it is very important when choosing the production house that it is a good match with the project that you are working on. And the last question is, what is my advice to young first-time creatives in working with international co-productions? I think I would say think big and dream big, and of course the reality will be that you might have to narrow down certain things, but always start with big dreams. As we are going more and more towards a global world, specifically in the film industry, there are a lot of possibilities if you have a good project to get picked up from producers all over the world, and to find also co-production from all around the world. Reality in animation is that it's very time and money consuming. So the more parties are involved production-wise, the more possibilities you will have budget-wise. So in that sense, the global direction that is taking place in the film industry is actually a very big advantage. But I also want to add for young creatives that they can make their films also by themselves. I have done that before, Sien has also done that before. If you really have a good idea and you really want to realize it, then I would just say go for it, make some time for it, because we also have the possibilities these days that you can sit at home on your computer with your Wacom and just draw and get going, basically. That was the last question. I really want to thank the festival for having us, and also related to the topic of Mosaic, I want to end this talk with the message of saying no to any mental and physical walls. And therefore I also believe that these kind of initiatives of festivals are so very valuable at times like these, to bring all of us together via the binding power of art, I would say. Thank you and enjoy the festival.
So, let's start off where we started off with Imge as well. I'd love for you guys to speak to us about the realities, maybe with Syria before the war, what opportunities there were for animation within the country, what opportunities there were, if there were any programs, sort of cooperative programs on a governmental level with other countries in Europe, were there ways to find funding? What has your experience been?
There were no opportunities. This is my. It's on. Is it? Yeah. This is my short answer. There was no opportunity, but I would like to talk also about filmmaking in Syria in general, just to give some context. So officially, the official film production in Syria started at the early 60s, in 63, when the National Film Organization started, after the Socialist Baath Party took over. After the Socialist Baath Party took over the country, and since then until 2011, in average, this organization produced 1 to 3 feature-length films a year and around 10 short films a year. And the situation was like this. It was the main production, and for some decades the only production company in Syria, this national film organization. In the 70s they started to co-produce with private companies, and then later with European companies, especially with France and especially with Arte. And how this organization worked is totally different from what film fund means in a capitalistic country like Germany, for example. Like, if you want to get money from this organization as a filmmaker, you need to be permanently employed in this organization. So you work there, basically, so that's how you get money for your film, or you pay for your film from your own pocket. But there's no open application for individual projects. So this was the situation, and beside the fact that that it's the main address for film production, and you have to deal with all what that means with corruption, with censorship, and so on. In the past decades, in the past 3 decades, most of the public and private money was more interested in TV series. So TV series was, and still actually, a pretty big industry in Syria. So, and it's been very successful throughout the Arabic-speaking countries. So it's quite difficult to have support for individual projects. So let alone animation, and let alone projects with alternative approaches or with political content. There was one exception in 2008 when Damascus was the capital of the Arabic culture. So there was like events throughout the year. Apart from that was Film Fund for Animation, and it was the very first and the last time that the government support animators. They produced around I think 8 short films in that year, and yeah, that was the the only opportunities that happened. In that time I was still a student at the fine arts school in Damascus, and then there was a period where we had some hope, especially around 2010. The first and the last edition of the International Festival of Animation of Damascus took place in cooperation with Annecy and with the French Cultural Center in Damascus, but it was, yeah, the last edition as well. So I would say in general there is a lot of talents in the country, but there is no animation industry. There is no established animation industry, and without having an industry, it's difficult to talk about international co-production, because it's a next level after establishing animation industry.
What's your experience now in Germany, where you've been living for the last 9 years? Is that a totally different?
Of course, it's totally different system, totally different structure of the film fund. So you have a lot of opportunities, very few actually specifically for animation, but you can apply to different funds. There is some difficulties that a lot of German institutions are still, they still have this sometimes classical view towards animation. Like it's not easy to produce a short animated film for adults, but it would be easier if you have a movie for children, or a longer format for children, or a series. So there is some difficulties, but it's, of course, it has an established film industry. And for my film, for Have a Nice Dog, I worked with a producer producer from Berlin. We applied for different funds. One of them was actually Robert Bosch Stiftung, which was, they had a program for around 6 or 7 years, bringing German producers together with directors from Arabic countries to work on projects, and they selected every year 3 projects, animation, documentary, and feature length, and they supported the projects each with 70,000 euros. So that's why in this framework of this foundation, I got to meet my producer. We didn't get the fund, unfortunately, but later we got a small fund from the Ministry of Culture in Germany, and at the same time the project also was my graduation film from the master studies, so we could use some facilities at the Film University in Babelsberg as well.
Great. Nicola, can you share with us your experience with raising money and finding funds and finding support in Lebanon for animation?
Yeah, like for me, before starting to look in Lebanon, I started looking in Germany. So there was a program in the festival ITFS in Stuttgart called the Arab Animation Forum. And it's there when I met my German producer, Fabian, and I pitched at the Arab Animation Forum, and I won the pitching competition in 2017. And the award was getting nominated to the Film Prize at the Robert Bosch Stiftung in the next year. And later, we have few funds in Lebanon like that we can apply to. There is AFAC, and they have a cinema fund. It's not just for animation, but they always select few animations in the cinema fund. And we are eligible also to the Doha Film Institute in Qatar, where also we got also the fund there. And there is Al Mawrid also. There is different options in Lebanon. But it's not just for Lebanon, like people from the entire Arab world could apply to these funds. Yeah, so that's how it started. And in 2018, when we won the Film Prize of the Robert Bosch Stiftung. And since then, we started working on the project between Lebanon and Germany, and that's how we are able to collect the budget for the film.
So you pulled together money from all sorts of different funds for that film. But Fabian was the producer of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was that relationship? How has that worked out for you?
In the beginning, since it was my first film, I had many questions regarding the contracts, the budget, and this. But luckily, with time, after signing the contract, like we were able to focus on the film and move on and like do the film. But the biggest problem was getting a visa to Germany. So unfortunately, my visa got rejected. So I had to work a little bit like people work today during the pandemic. So it was all online. I met the team online. And the animation was done in Germany. I was reviewing from Lebanon and then doing the backgrounds from Lebanon. The sound was in 2 countries. So it was a little bit like crazy to work through. And especially with the slow internet connection in Lebanon. So I remember in the end I had to go to Starbucks to get internet and giving reviews from Starbucks. And
so Starbucks was a sponsor too of your film.
Anyway, then I moved to Burger King because there was so many crowd there I couldn't focus. So it was a little bit like this, but luckily we were able to finish the film. And
do you feel you've kept total creative control of the film from the beginning until the end of it? How is the relationship on that end with your producer?
Like I had some control over the film, but of course, like if you have a producer, they will have a say. They will have to give their ideas, and it's all as a teamwork in the end. Like I try to say as much as I can true to what I believe, but also if someone suggests something that I can feel it and I can see it and imagine it, I was okay to change a little bit, but to remain true to what I feel in the end. But yeah, so I took many ideas that were suggested by my producers, by the team also. Like I listened to what they suggested.
It is truly a collaboration, right, with the producer. So it's about finding a producer that understands you as much as you understand them, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How was the process of producing, of finishing your work? Did you produce it yourself with the money that you pulled together, or did you work with a producer?
Yeah, I did work with the producer, with Carsten, who I met as well in Leipzig actually at the beginning, and then in Stuttgart, and then yeah, we started to work together on this film. And I would say, starting from Sulaima, the film, before I started to learn how to deal with the producers, because I did two films actually before Sulaima, my graduation film in Damascus, and later one short film. And for me, the main thing was, for someone coming from a fine arts background, so at the beginning it was very difficult for me I didn't understand how could I present something that doesn't exist yet, like a film. For me, it worked in that time like a painting. Like when you finish your painting, you show it to others, and you start to talk about it with others when it already exists. But in film, it works differently. You need to be able to talk about your work from the scratch, from the very first lines that you write. So in Heaven I Talk, I wanted to be more open to others, and it was very, very helpful with Karsten, the discussions with him, especially that he's this kind of producers who really respects creativity. He's really a person who's moved by his passion for animation, and he respects your he knows what his borders are as a producer, so he doesn't try to force anything in the content or in the artistic process. So it worked quite well, even with a little money, but it was a great experience with him.
So we asked you guys to sort of give advice to young people that are trying to go through this process of working with a producer, which is a little bit new for Greece especially. It's sort of new because a lot of the filmmakers here kind of run their own projects the way that it works out, but that's changing, thankfully. So any advice on how to work with a producer, how to pull money from different places, how things that you would do differently that you've learned and you would do differently on your next project? Anything you would like to share about thoughts?
Like for me, what I recommend is that do not be afraid of asking questions, and if you have things that you do not understand, ask people more. Like I think this is the most important message I give to people who want to work with international co-producers. And then I would say go for it, because like it will open too many opportunities for you, and then you will have more. You will have a outside view also on your project. You have a new eye on the project. They could suggest many beautiful ideas to the project. So do not be afraid of it, but at the same time ask questions and be true to stay true to what you want to say, but at the same time listen and be open to new suggestions and ideas. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, it's difficult to add to what Nicola and Imre said actually, but I just wanted to add a little thing. Maybe it's great to work with a producer who has a big portfolio and a lot of connections and so on. But for me, I think the personal level, the personal understanding is very important, that you find a person with whom you really would like to discuss and with whom you really would like to go into this relationship for years, because it will gonna be years. So you need to be able, you need to like each other and you need to be able to talk.
Great. Are there any questions out there?
Given the difficult situation in Lebanon right now, which we all know economically and otherwise, what do you see as the future for Lebanese animation?
In Lebanon, like I think for Lebanese animation, we have to look for co-productions at the moment because it's, for example, the money that I earned from my previous film, How My Grandmother Became a Chair, I couldn't access it. It's still stuck in the bank, so I didn't earn any money of it in the end. To be able to survive from animation, you just have, the first thing is to look for international co-productions, but also I would recommend for people to get close to each other in the same field, for example, to collaborate with other animators in Lebanon, to help each other with the different projects. And I think that it started to happen a little bit with a festival called Beirut Animated. They did it's a wonderful festival, and they did many roundtables also with the different, bring different animation directors together and discuss the different problems that, for example, that they are facing and how the animators could survive and to develop their projects. And yeah, so I think in case we do not find, for example, co-producers from abroad, we should be able to work together as a, how do you say it in English, as a group of people, as a team, yeah.
Rely on the community.
Yeah, to form a community and then work together as a community instead of working alone. It's always easier and you get more ideas, and there is so many talents in Lebanon, and I think we could push each other this way.
Any questions?
Hi, Takis Kyriakoulakos from the University of the Aegean here at Syros Island. I would like to see if you could have any help from the diaspora. There are a lot of animators outside Lebanon or Syria that maybe could have the possibility to co-produce with you some films, even in the short form.
Specifically a Syrian community abroad, Lebanese community abroad. Are there connections from Lebanese communities outside the country?
I'm sure there is a lot of animators that are Lebanese and living abroad. Personally, I'm not in connection with one specific. I didn't think about it yet, but I'm always open to this idea to collaborate with other Lebanese and we could help each other. From Lebanon, there is too many stories to tell. We are living things that are so new, so we have many interesting stories, and also from a view from outside. So it would be a great idea to do that.
There is actually a lot of Syrian animators in Exile, but I know that most of them, unfortunately, are busy with commercial stuff, and I think they didn't start to form a real community that is able to function in a way, but maybe that comes in the future.
I would like to know if you've been, if any platform, like the new platforms that are so trendy these last years, have been approached you for any kind of stories coming from Middle East. If they are interested in content.
Yeah, I mean, for example, my previous two films were interesting for Arte, for example, so Arte contacted me for this film, so they showed the films on their program, on their platforms as well. And I've been also contacted by Netflix a few months ago, but not for my project, but to involve me in the visual development for a project of them. And they also say that they are open for collaboration maybe in the future, but it's not nothing decided yet.
Any other questions? Yes?
Thank Thank you. Just practically speaking, I've been a commercial animator for about 20 years, and I've had films commissioned from commercial channels that we've had creative control over. But getting to meet a producer who is just going to work with you on your own pieces is it's quite a mystical thing to me. What sort of kind of practical advice have you got for someone in that situation?
To get a producer to work on a personal film seems like a mystical thing to do when there's a lot of commercial kind of animation work happening. Do you have any advice on tactics on how to get your hands on one of those kinds of relationships?
It's very difficult topic. Yeah, really, like to make others convinced in your own project. But I don't know. I think for every project it's different, because every project has different strengths, points, or other personal aspects as well. So maybe if you focus on the comprehensible aspects of the film that would make sense for others, and maybe less personal, and maybe later you can clarify your personal background behind these aspects. Yeah, I don't know, but I believe that for every project there should be a specific strategy for every story.
It is a really hard question. We were all hoping for the cheat sheet to getting funds for our personal films, but it seems like it is a synergy thing, maybe, an opportunity to meet, maybe to be exposed to the right kinds of, I don't know what the right kind is. Maybe it's a little bit of luck too, I don't know.
For example, I'm working right now on a short film. It will be a little bit experimental, very visual, I would say, and it's very, very difficult for me to present these kind of ideas or to pitch them. Yeah, but I'm producing it alone. Karsten, my producer of Have a Nice Talk, is also involved, like consulting and so. So because he knows me, so he told me, yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can make good images, so I trust you. So sometimes it's like this, if you know someone and they really trust you. So yeah, because in some kinds of films it's really difficult if you are. It depends also on the workflow, because sometimes in my workflow in this new project, I'm working again like a painting. So I keep myself free from the usual structure, and I try to keep that, try to make the process leads me to the next steps. Exactly like in painting, your brush strokes leads you to finalize the whole thing at the end.
How large was the team on Have a Nice Talk?
It's me, and it's me on the visual side, the producer, and the sound team, of course.
And the sound team.
Yes, it
How long were you working?
took around 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? No. So.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Imge and Sine as well. Hope to see you in Syros soon. We will be back with our third roundtable in just a moment. Thank you, guys.
welcome back to our last roundtable for this first day of Agora, the 7th edition. And I'm very glad to welcome 3 ladies, a lot of women this year in Agora. So our section is about career paths for animation talents. And I would like to welcome Kim Noce, who is a very talented animator, filmmaker, teacher. What else? A lot of different attributes. Laure Gauguin, who is working with MEU, this famous production and distribution company. Actually, you have like 4, 5, 6 movies in our festival this year. So she's in charge of the distribution in MEU. And Sofia Elkari. Sofia? It's good. Okay. Sofia, who has also 2 films. She's an animator, filmmaker, and 2 of her films will be screened in Medanima Tribute. So we are here to talk about career paths, and I would like to start from Noce, because you are experienced in teaching, but also in doing animation. So my question is, what is, in your opinion, the perfect path to follow a career? Is there a perfect path?
I'm sorry to disappoint. I actually think the opposite, that there is not a perfect path, and that what is very important, that people decide early on what they really want to do, because at the end of the day there is a lot of fashion in animation and things that move on, and fashion on softwares and idea and technique and style, and actually it's very important people understand what they really like to do, where they really like to work. And so the difference between commercial work or independent work is really based on a personal choice. So I am a horrible person because it's a very difficult suggestion to say, but I would just say it's very important to follow your heart and to really understand what you really like, because you can finish in the trap of having a very wonderful career but not being happy. And
yes,
so what type of film will you make?
Can you make a living by following your heart?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sure that if you do the right things for the way you like it, you can make a living. Said this, it depends in which country you are and whether if you can access to certain funds. How you make a living might be in different ways, but you really have to keep an eye on what you really want to do, because I know so many friends that were absolutely talented filmmakers, far more than me, that they regret having gone into commercial work because they cannot pull out of that constant bill payment, rent, things, and then they're always scared to pull back. Where I've got other friends that instead realized they didn't want to become independent filmmakers. They loved that kind of group work. So it's very important that people understand early on what they would like to do, because there is a perfect career for everyone.
And do you think that there is an age limit for a career?
I hope not. I started at 32.
Like so there are
to do more.
late boomers or younger?
Actually, at university, it's kind of strange, because when I went to study, there were a lot more people that started much later, especially MAs. So they did a bit of BA, often in order. Like I did fine art, but I knew people that did anthropology or like cartography, like Robert Bradford from the National Film Television School. So, and then after a few years, they moved. Now I see a lot of people that are much younger, but I'm starting to see as well people that have got the courage to change career. Again, that really depends by the country and by the mentality of the country, and whether if you've got the courage to do that, because often it's more a social approach than actually the impossibility. You can always start. Of course, there is a trend naturally, because young people have got more time, less expenses, less, what would you say, commitment, yeah, less commitment in life, that their path can go a little bit faster because they can just do nights, day, all weeks, non-stop, and there is not the child, there is not the mortgage or things like that. So you also have to set your goals. But I think it's absolutely possible because I have students that started at 45 and they are working in the animation industry now. So
it's very hopeful. And I've seen in your CV that you've been teaching animation in different schools and you have also a workshop. Would you like to talk about this workshop? What is exactly? We'd like to know.
Yeah, actually, when I graduated, it was the wonderful moment in which the UK economy went down and all the funds for animation disappeared. And I was like just ready fresh. I was like, oh, okay. So I was trying to find my ways to be playful anyway, and I actually started to do workshop with special schools and with primary children, and that's how I end up. Which I find it adorable because I rediscovered the absolute joy of animation. After doing the graduation film for 1 year, you just kind of don't want to animate for few months. And just the joy of doing it. So I started workshop like that and then slowly by slowly building my confidence as well in sharing this knowledge. And now I teach at the National Film Television School and oversee the second year. Sometimes I think I'm more a psychologist there than anything, because the intensity of animation now reaches such a strong level because the quality is rising and rising and rising and the expectation, and it's amazing to see it, but as well psychologically it can be quite daunting, I think, for a lot of people to always have that expectation that everything has to be polished and finished and sound, and especially with stop motion, I think. And at the London College of Communication, I run the MA course. So I kind of put all people together and sometimes manage to teach there. A type of workshop. I like workshop where when I do master class, I like it to really experiment. So often I run things that I also partly want to learn. I learn a bit and I like a lot participatory projects. This is perhaps because UK, for a quite long time, all the fun you could do is if you involve the public. And just like as an animator, I was like, what? How? Sorry, I was like, so in 2016, 17, I actually invented this, don't ever do it, it's a nightmare, but I invented this film in which everyone would color in a frame that had been rotoscoped. So I had about 3,000 people and each would color in 1 or 2 frames. And it was amazing, and I passed a lot of time on shopping center, on streets, on museum, and all these people would just come and color in, and me trying to explain animation. But then I realized I had to put them all together. and just kind of merge them. So the film came out a little bit wobbly, but the experience was amazing.
Oh, we can go on forever, but I would like to ask Laure. Laure, you are in the MEU and you are in a relationship with schools and the production company. And would you please tell us a little bit about your job and how you deal and how you find the new talents and
how we found talents. I think that schools is a good environment to find new talents from the animation scene. Also festival, pitching session. We also receive a lot of screener by emails. Like sometimes we're not so proactive in terms of researching new talents, but we receive a lot of requests. But we are always trying to follow the new talents that are emerging in the industry, and trying to follow them and follow their paths and their projects to find new films that we want to work on.
But when you are looking for new talents, do you have a strategy? Do you have a trend? Do you have a specific content or technique or what else could be in order to find a film that will have a distribution, will have a career?
We don't have really like techniques to to approach new talents or to grab their film in our catalog. We just we speak to them and we're sharing our thoughts on their films, and if we really want to work with them, even if it's not necessarily an easy collaboration. For example, if there's a lack of financial resources for the distribution, the work that we are doing, and that is that has a price. We're trying to find ways to still work on the project that we want to work on, even if it's not necessarily easy. And yes, I don't know, just sympathy and trying to be kind to people. We don't really have a strategy to approach the new talents.
But is the academic path, is it a factor that you take in consideration when you choose the new talents or not?
It's not really something that that is important for us. But of course, if we know that this school has a lot of great films, and that usually a lot of great directors came out from this school, we are always trying to look closer to this school and to the new students that go out from this school. But it's not for us. I mean, I think that the academic background of a director or an animator can have more influence on the technical parts of the animation industry. But I think that for a director, the fact that the director comes from this school or this other school, of course it will give him like a lot of resources in terms of how he work and how he handle the directing job. But I don't think that it will help the film to get in that festival or that festival. I mean, the programmers don't really care that the film has been directed by students from this school. Of course, it can be like a first way for them to discover the film, because they, for example, we have some festival that know that we're working with Gobelins, and they say, oh, we know that the new Gobelins graduation films are coming, can you send a screener? And this way they can have like a first approach on the films, but it's not, I mean, it's just like a first approach, and it's not going to determine all the career of the film in festival.
And are you traveling a lot? You are going abroad or in France also only?
For finding.
For finding, yes. Are you in contact with other schools besides France?
Yeah, we're working with distributing the graduation film from the animation workshop, which is based in Denmark. We also worked on 2 or 3 films from Sketch Republic school, and also Germany, Polish. I mean, it's really
Belgium.
Belgium more. It's more with professional director such as Cine and Imre Osbilch.
You are distributing their film?
Yeah.
Mosaic.
But yeah, we didn't work with a Belgium school for now, but I know that we're in contact with one of them, I think in the Flanders side of the country.
And have you ever thought to proceed with countries like Greece, for instance?
Well, we're quite open to like collaboration, and we're not. We never say no or yes because the film came from that country or that other country. We're really like just trying to find the artists and talents that we want to share the work, and we want to help them evolve their career. So yeah.
No, because recently we have some programs that they are in animation in different institutions, and maybe it's worth it to have a look. So, Sophia, I would like to know, you have graduated from Royal College of Art in London. So I was wondering if this level of studies helped you in your career and in your because you were born in Casablanca, right, in Morocco, and then you traveled in Paris, and now you're living where?
That's a good question. No, I'm joking.
All over the world.
Yes, I was born and raised in Morocco, but I moved first for my studies in France, actually to do cultural management. And I started because I was interested in animation from a very long time. It's just like the opportunities were not really there in Morocco. And as well, I don't know, I feel like because animation industry there is not really something, my family was a bit scared about this path, so I took a step back first and I tried to do something still related to the artistic field, but in more like a management side, but I realized I could never do that. So when I was in France, I started to take workshops during night and kind of self-taught animation. And I did a first short film there, and then I applied with it to schools in to the UK in London, Royal College of Art. And to answer your question, if like your question was like, does it help to graduate from school there? I think I will share the same idea as Laure, that like I think it's a good cover of the book, but I think in our field it doesn't work this way. Like it's not like you're doing finance or something and you can put in your CV, I did this school, and people will be like, wow, okay, we're gonna hire him. People actually trust you when they see your work, your art, your films. So it can be a first way to present yourself, but it doesn't make it all. But for me, still, it was very just useful to be in this very artistic, stimulated, emulated atmosphere in London for 2 years, and with very inspiring people and the teachers there. So it's more like about my experience there at that moment, rather than what it brings later in my career.
But do you think that there is a barrier for people who live in Morocco or Greece or countries, similar countries, when they don't have access in such an education, such level?
Unfortunately, I think yes, because I feel when I was very young, when I left Morocco, I was 18. But still, like I felt like I grew up a lot artistically speaking when I was in France or in the UK, just because of the teachers around, all the schools, all the other animator artists. And I've been, so there's also a very good festival in Morocco, I've been there many times. Animation festival, and they try to really bring international animator artists like you do here in Syros, and you bring international animators to here. And I think this is actually very helpful, and it maybe it's a way to bring locally something that countries such as Morocco or Greece don't really have, or are very small in comparison to bigger countries in animation. So there's way, and I think maybe today there's also a lot of stuff that you can see on the internet as well. Like so, but yeah, you have to do the first step to see to make your researches on the internet, or to see if you can go abroad or outside and to grow up more artistically speaking.
And what about funds and I mean the budget and funding? You know, I mean, you've been in residencies that helped you to raise money for your movies. Did that helped a lot?
Yes. So my idea after I graduated, it's like Kim said, I really didn't want to do commissions, and I wanted to make my films. So it's like, okay, how can I do it? So I applied to many different things, and residencies, fundings, also at early stages, like writing or development fundings, so I can live while I'm making or developing my project. So I did it this way. So I did, for the project that I'm currently animating, I did a residency in Canada, and I did one kind of, it's half a residency, half a studio in Paris, and now I'm also in France doing a production residency in Angoulême. So I kind of did a residency at different stages of the project. Yeah.
So you applied, you were in Paris when you applied for Canada, or you were in Morocco, from Paris?
Yes, I didn't go back to living in Morocco yet.
And do you know where you will be in the future? I mean, which country? Or would you like to return in Morocco and start or work there? Or are there any possibilities actually in Morocco?
Well, I really like to have a foot there. Also because I feel, for instance, now I'm based in France, it's very saturated. There is a lot of animated filmmakers, and I feel like in Morocco, like it's still kind of burning, and I don't know how to say, it's still rising. So there's still space also to express things, to say things about my culture. And there's more and more possibilities also, like I see more people having interests because there's a good live action industry, and the fact that some people are coming in animation, but not animation for kids, also is interesting for some people. So I'm optimistic, and I like to keep a foot there, as I said, and to see if I can do collaborations, or if I can do things in the future, residencies, whatever.
Kim, I would like to know if you had to mention 3 skills that an animator should absolutely have, what should be?
Yeah, the mic.
Definitely resilience. That is one. I would say the next one, I think everyone would agree, patient.
You can help, Kim. Help each other.
I mean, essential. I don't know.
Essential.
Self-belief.
Fantastic. You want to add?
We were discussing lately about, okay, I want to talk about this, about artists taking care about themselves, because I feel in our field, like we're like, a lot of my friends doing animation are working like crazy, and including me sometimes. I'm really trying not, but sometimes it happens. And I think we don't hear that enough, like, please people, take care of yourself, sleep, take weekends, take breaks. That's my message.
be in good health. Absolutely, it's very important. Okay.
Yeah, and also for the industry. No, sorry, for the industry, because there is then an expectation of what an animator can do with an amount of time that actually lower, there are higher expectation from the industry of what we can do, but actually we can't do it. Otherwise we don't sleep or eat.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Hi there. Thank you for this panel. It's interesting to have all these stories. I worked lately with Miyu, so I would like just to situate a little bit more your company. It's more a distribution company, not a production company, is it? And how many films do you distribute right now?
Do you mean per year or like globally?
The catalog that you have now.
Well, each year I think we have about between 50 and 60 films because we're working with animation school and we're taking all the graduation promotions, so it can be sometimes 10, 12 films. We also have a school that have every year about 30 films, so it's already just a lot with 2 schools. And globally, I think that because we're working since 2014, so I think maybe, I don't know, 500 or something like this. I'm not sure. I didn't count, but a lot.
Laura, do you stay with, you pick up maybe a student film and you distribute it from a new animator? Do you continue to follow through with a specific talent? Do you have an option for their later films? How do you create those kind of relationships with new animators?
We don't have like a contract that say we worked on your film, so we are going to work on your next project, but this is a bit how we are thinking of our work and how we want to collaborate with directors, but also production company. We're trying to establish relationship with trust and long-term relationship. So usually we're trying to work on the next projects. Sometimes we worked on the student film from, let's say, Gobelins or I don't know, another school. And then one of the director produced his first professional film, and he contacted us because he apparently liked the job that we did on his student film. And yeah, it doesn't mean that we're going to work on the film without question, but yeah, we like to work this way, and if the film is really not for us, we are going to say, okay, I don't think we're the good person to distribute it, but usually it works this way and it's working well.
Do you focus primarily on schools, or do you have specific relationships with specific producers too that you distribute films through?
Both. For example, we're working with 2 Belgian company, production company, Lunanim and Animal Tank. We worked on different projects from them, and it's still going to work this way because they think of us first when they have a new project and they want to find a distributor. They send us the production file project, even if the film is not finished yet, but they ask us if we can make it like later to engage, to say we're interested in this film and we want to distribute it. So
do you connect talent with producers, or you're not really?
Excuse me?
Do you connect talent with producers?
Sometimes, but not really. I mean, sometimes we receive projects and we say, okay, maybe it can interest this company, and usually sometimes new production because they're our our closest partners. But yes, it happens, but it's not like something that we do usually.
Thank you. Questions?
It's time to Kim because you did workshops with kids in schools, primary schools, I suppose. Is there any institutional framework for this in the UK or elsewhere, or it's most an informal workshop that it's a little bit unofficial, if you...
When I started, there was this small charity that it's like a sort of charity slash company that they do training and as well with kids and students. But it was because the previous government, not the one we've got now, was funding a lot for the arts to be in school. So like a company could have access to those funds. So for those 10 years, there was a lot of workshop, and actually there was a lot of filmmakers like Lizzie Hobbs and other filmmakers in UK that went and did this workshop because it was just nice sharing it. And it was like a nice little income to the side as you find projects and things like that. There isn't an association per se, but then it would go in collaboration with museums such as State Gallery or British Museum. So it would, like, there was actually funds for that. Now, obviously, as everyone knows, they died in UK, all of that. But, so it was a kind of a grassroots, and then out of that, a lot of us did actually approach more local museums or local schools and proposed, and the school could get funds from the state to do it. So it was very rich and very sweet.
I thought the last question that Magneta asked was super interesting, and your answer was very interesting, Kim, about resilience. And I was wondering... Yeah, I was wondering specifically about resilience to the directors in our panel. Like, do you feel like it's something you've always had, or did you build it up over the years, maybe during studies or after that? You and Sophia, like the directors.
It builds over the years, and it builds with small, tiny little success, I think. But also, I mean, when they were saying it was like, there was one question that then wasn't asked, but if university are the right career path, and I don't think the university are the place where, like Sophia said, it's like you don't go to learn a technique or to just come with like, I've done this, then therefore you have to take me. But it's a good way to learn in group and learn resilience on that sense, because you see the story of each and you do a journey together. So I think some people comes with a little bit more resilience by nature, by personality, but I think it can be built over time. It's a long conversation, that one. Yeah, because basically it's the fact that actually until now we just promote career and skills, but from my point of view personally, I think we should really start to look at mental health with different eyes and looking at teaching humanity before even teaching skills or teaching to think and not what to think.
Thank you. I have also a question to Sophia. concerning residencies, because you did a lot of residencies for your ongoing film, and I would like to see the actual experience for writing, doing maybe development research, and then in the later stages, how do you manage, how much time it takes, etc., etc. A little bit to elaborate on.
It takes a long time, but actually that's something after I graduated. I didn't expect it to take it so long, because when you're at school or you don't have money or something, you just have the idea and you go for it and you do it. And then when you want to make a living out of it, you have to apply to things and wait. And so that can take time. So patience also is good. And yes, so I did the following classical steps, which is like trying to find a way to fund myself when I was writing the project. So at the very beginning, the first writing steps, I was writing the project while I was working somewhere else. And then when I had the first script, I started to apply to early residencies, like for writing and development. And I went then to Canada, and then the project really developed very quickly there, so I think it was really useful to do this. And then afterwards, the next step was to apply again to other grants to take more time to do maybe animatic or like more drawing researches, more paintings. And so that I tried many different things. One of the options I had is like, because my producer is in France and I'm based in France, so I could apply to things in France. But also because I'm Moroccan, I had access, I had access to all the grants in the Arab world. So that was also very helpful. And yeah, so it was each step doing a residency or having a grant, developing a little bit more the project, then the application was better and I could then apply again to more money and actually finally making the film with the good conditions, like I mean with people helping me and that I can pay them and having enough time not to be stressed while I'm doing the project, which for me is really important because when I'm stressed I don't do good work. So that's it.
Sophia, you're sort of at the beginning of your career. You've had some experience trying to raise money, going through the slow process of creating projects. Do you feel you're still encouraged for pursuing animation? Does it, looking forward to doing this work for a while, it's still, are you affected by the process? Do you are you still positive? Because it is hard to be in animation.
I'm just think I'm learning how to process. Like for instance, something that I learned is like, okay, for some ambitious project, it's worth it to go through all the steps and really raise the money and everything. But sometimes also when you just have like one spontaneous idea, also it also worth it to kind of self-fund it and go for it. So it's just like, it's kind of like my producer, when I started working with him, he said this, he said like when you're in animation, it's like you're doing this kind of gymnastic all the time. And I really felt it, so it's sometimes doing my personal projects, sometimes working on other stuff, sometimes taking a commission, sometimes doing things spontaneously. I'm also thinking of going outside of the animation field for a bit because I think it can bring more inspiration to my work later. So no, I'm quite positive. I mean, it's my passion. I have been willing to do this forever, not forever, but for a very long time. and I fought for it. So it's just like learning how to handle it, because it can be long, especially for people who are not in this field, and they're like, oh, you're still with this idea for a very long time, but it's just because you go for it a little bit, then you pause it, then you take it again, and you do something else, and it's this ongoing and ongoing thing.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. It was very interesting, the discussion, yes. Let's have pictures. The conclusion is that there is no ideal path to a career. But go for it. Okay, thank you for being with us today. Tomorrow we'll be here at 5 again. The topic is music sound, and don't miss at 6:45 Joanna Quinn and Nancy Denny Phelps. Thank you very much.